You look the same, man. You haven't aged a day.
I've been going in the past couple months on the gym and health stuff. So
that's
feeling good,
man. But I feel like, weren't you always? I always thought of you as like a...
I've been off and on. I feel like maybe every time we've caught up, I have been.
Okay, yeah. I'm just catching you at the right time. Was there like a 2-year like fat lazy gesture era I missed?
For sure. There's always that guy comes around every once in a while, but it does feel like he's losing hold.
Nice. Well, that's good.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel, were you, I asked this because I'm a former fat kid. Were you a fat kid growing up?
Yes. Uh-huh. I was, and I'm off and on still am, but I think I'm starting to find my way now that I'm 33, finally.
Dude, it never leaves you. I mean, I'll say as a 41-year-old, the fat kid is still inside me for sure.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I mean, it is, not to nerd out too much on this, but it's so like, built into your genetics and everything, so it's hard to overcome.
It's just like anything else, I think. I mean, yeah, it's built into genetics, and it, comes certainly from some childhood stuff that I think none of us, at this point in our adult lives, you can't change that. So it's kind of just like focusing. Anyway, yeah, I'm not trying to go off on a rant either.
We just talk about, that's like my podcast career experience is just like, end up nerding out about something completely unrelated.
Honestly, that's kind of when it's the best podcast.
Yeah.
Like, because you're great at this, and I know you've always understood this kind of format really well, but there's plenty of people in our world, man, that like still...
Oh, yeah. No, I've definitely heard. It's like, just one sec, let me move on.
Yeah.
My studio is so messy right now, but like I have this view that doesn't look bad.
Oh, nice. No, it looks good. Yeah, I can't tell.
I know. Well, you can't see the rest.
Is this like studio in your house now?
Yeah, we moved to a house in Burbank with a couple 3 bedrooms and a yard. It's been fucking awesome, dude.
Nice, man. That's a big change from the little apartment I saw you in last time. Yeah,
for sure.
And you're married now, too?
Yeah, married.
Dude.
Got a dog.
I love it, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. It doesn't seem like it's been that long, but I feel like a lot has happened.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like, well, we first did one in COVID. Before COVID.
We did 2 before COVID.
Right.
We did like one.
Oh, they were both before COVID.
Well, because we did one. I've been doing this so long now. We did one, I think, in the first year of the show, which was like 2017. And then I think we did one like a year before COVID. And then
that makes more sense. Okay. Yeah. Damn. Okay. So it has, because I could have sworn the second one was after COVID, but now that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think not. Yeah, I haven't seen you in a while. But
wow.
That's it's great to hear. Do you feel like, because on paper it seems like, oh, he's doing great. Like, is it better than it was? Like, how's life?
Yeah, it's been going well. I think like when we first talked on the podcast in like, it must have been like 2018, I feel like. Because that's when, I know we talked about meditation a lot, and I was going into this like era of gesture that was like the first big like push and the first big kind of like, oh, I'm like making it moment. And, going into 2019, I had like my first big LA sellout. So yeah, that was cool. And then COVID happened, maybe a year or 2 later. And I really went hard on like live stream and building a community online during that. And that was really dope. And then I burnt out super fucking hard on that. That plus I went really in on crypto too. And so like, I was just like wired 24/7, like almost literally at all times.
Right.
And burned out super fucking hard. And
well, wait, let me ask you, because somebody else told me that you had gone in big with crypto, but I wasn't actually talking to you around that time. Like, was it because I know other people who went crazy with that stuff around that time too, and a bunch of people made a bunch of money, a bunch of people lost a bunch of money, but all of those people that I knew were kind of like just glued to their screens. It almost seemed like it was like this new kind of, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm sort of speculating here, but to me, it seemed like it was almost like a new kind of addiction that like brains weren't prepared for. And so I saw it hit some people so hard in a way that like there was no frame of reference.
It's not a new addiction. It's gambling addiction.
Sure.
So it is just the same old, but it's like gambling with like also knowledge of what will do well or not, so to speak, in some cases. So, I mean, it was just like gambling on times a billion, and the more you were glued to the screen, the better you would do, is unfortunately
it rewards you, right?
And just because the more you're plugged in and knowing what's going to happen, the more you win on things. So yeah, I mean, I was doing crypto in 2017 early with a group of DJ friends. Like there's a handful of us that still talk like every day in this like crypto chat. Sometimes it's not crypto related, depending on what the market's doing.
Someone else was telling me about that.
Henry Fong, like Wax Motif, GTA, Gosh Father. There's a handful of us in there. Wookie, did I say that? And so yeah, we've been doing this since 2017. And there was like a moment, and then we got to NFTs 3 years ago now is when that was happening. So yeah, things, I mean, that was great. I mean, I'm really lucky. I did make a decent amount of money, and like, now that's just kind of like a savings / safety net that I'll have kind of forever, hopefully. And now things are kind of moving again. So I'm doing it a little bit, but this time around I'm being smart. I'm not like dedicating my whole life to this, especially because right now, back to your question, things are going really well with music. I'm like really focusing hard on writing music and, paying attention to like the artistry and like what I'm doing. And like, there's a lot to talk about too, because I was really into social media for a while that we weren't talking, and that was going really well. And then kind of came to realization that as successful as that was, it never truly translated to success in my music and DJ career.
Yeah, I want to dig into that too. That's so interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we could just talk about it because, like I was doing really well with these like man on the street style interview stuff at festivals. And that's kind of just what everyone got to know me for. And which is awesome. I mean, it definitely helped. It was definitely translating to more success, but not fully in the way that I really wanted it to, as like, people would come up to me at like a festival. Even recently, like still to this day, people come up to me like gesture for $1, which is like the video. If you're not familiar or listening,
oh, I saw those videos, of course.
And yeah, right. Most people did. When I met John Summit for the first time a couple of years ago, he like knew me because of that. So that's like a plus, right? Because like people know who I am, but they don't really know the music, and they don't know what my DJ set is. And I think some people, most maybe, think that, oh, he's just a dude doing a gimmick and that's why he's getting gigs, because of this social media thing, right? Like, so, and that's what I would consider myself the opposite of that. I think I'm a DJ's DJ, really care about music culture and what's going on. I've always have. So like, I think that was giving a perception that, wasn't me and wasn't true to what I was doing, and also distracted me from like making more progress musically, I think, because I was so focused on like the success of that.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I haven't done a interview style video at a festival in like, over a year. I can't remember the last one. It's been a while, and people still come up to me about it. And, I'm still like that guy to a lot of people, but the progress I've made musically is like exponential because I've been focusing on that. And also like, still doing social media. It's still super important. Making more of my social media about my music instead of about that wasn't related to my music, So yeah, that's the gist of it.
I mean, it's so interesting, man, because those videos, really took off and people liked those videos, obviously. Do you think, you said that it did help in your success in some way? Like, can we drill into that? Because I was really curious the idea of, and I kind of in the framework of like up and coming producers, I think are being told that you have to be a content creator. You have to, really be focusing on like making content surrounding your work and your project and things people are going to engage with. But I think it's also really interesting to talk about the other side of that, that content, it can't just be sort of anything. You have to figure out how to sort of focus it. So for you, when you were making those answer this question for $1 video that, again, were hilarious and people loved and you were very good at doing, like, did those help your career? How did that affect how you were doing as a DJ at that time, if at all?
Yeah, it's hard to like really quantify that answer just because I don't know for sure. Like, I think I was doing a lot of good stuff as a DJ and musician as well at the same time. And I never saw like oh my God, like this is actually doing something crazy moment. Like it kind of was very slow building. I was kind of early on TikTok, but at the very last end of the early on TikTok, because they used to just like shoot any video that did like decent, they would just like explode. Yeah. And my last my first few dollar videos on TikTok went really well and then like tapered off. So I never got that like crazy big TikTok success with those videos, but quite a few did really well, of course. But yeah, I never saw like a moment where like this shit took off and it was crazy and it was making my DJ career better. It was all like kind of moving at the same rate. And like I said, I'm sure there's people who didn't know me as a DJ, saw those videos, got interested, maybe listened to my music in a DJ mix or whatever and became a fan. I'm sure that happened, but I would say most likely that didn't happen for the most part of people who saw those videos, Like I think my thought process was that the first thing would happen, but it didn't as much as I thought.
Right.
And that's kind of when I took a moment to like reposition what I was doing.
Were those videos, were they making money? Were they benefiting you in other ways?
No, I still to this day, I mean, I put them on YouTube for a while before TikTok was huge. Still to this day, get an email from Google that's like, you need to set up your AdSense payment account. And I know it's like just over the threshold of payments, dude. And like, it's not that high. It's like maybe $110 or something. Maybe more now, but nothing.
That's the weird thing about like the idea of going viral in general, man, is I think either you have to sort of have that in your head as being the business model from day one and approach it like that, or otherwise, I feel like the benefit is sort of questionable. Like, I don't know, anyone who's listened to this podcast for long enough has heard me tell this story before, but back in, were you around for the Vine days? Were you on Vine?
A little bit.
Okay.
I was, yeah.
So, I mean, Vine was just like early looping video app. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't on there almost at all. People I knew were like Getter was huge on Vine, making the same thing, doing like little comedy skits. And I just made one Vine. It's the one and only one I ever made. It went insanely viral. It has more hits than like all of my music combined to this day. And the whole time it was going, it was just a stupid, like, it was an interview of Rick Ross where he was really drunk and he was talking about pears. And he was like, shout out to all the pears. All the bears. Yeah. And like that was me. That's the reason anyone knows that he said awesome. That. So it's this crazy internet moment. But the whole time it was happening, the video was getting bigger and bigger. And I didn't know anything. I kept asking people, I was like, should I be doing something? Like, is there a way I can make this benefit me? And pretty much the only answer was like, not unless you want to pivot your career into being a Vine creator,
Right. Yeah. And I think exactly, like, I think there's like plenty, like in retrospect, I could have done that so much better. And I think frankly, like in that time period, my music releases weren't performing super well. Like I wasn't making music that was good for Spotify at all. Like never got, like my monthly listeners were super low on Spotify. People loved my DJ sets. Like my core following at that time, especially, was just all about my DJ sets, seeing me live and becoming a mega fan of what I do in that sense. So like, I can't just say like it didn't work for me because it didn't work for me. Like maybe it just, there was like a little disconnection too with like the music and everything like firing perfectly, because Getter's a good example. Like his comedy stuff did great. His music was doing great. It was like a perfect situation, you know?
Yeah.
So I can only speculate, and I don't know what the answer is, but it just didn't quite connect at that time for like some major huge moment.
Well, yeah,
success.
maybe it's a couple different things, because you're hearing you talk about like your Spotify numbers and all that too. I think it's a separate but related issue that affects a lot of DJs, because when I think of you, like you're like a club killer. You're like, you show up and murder a set and the party is wild every single time. And I know, because I've seen you play many times, like you're a great DJ, a great selector, like kind of in the old school sense of like, you know your shit and you're really passionate about music and sharing it. And it comes through the way any good DJ should. But in the era of streaming, I think a lot of club killer DJs, I don't know why I picked that metaphor, but I'll run with it. I think those type of DJs can sometimes get screwed in the streaming paradigm, because oftentimes club music isn't really the same as like streaming music, Yeah,
absolutely. First of all, I really appreciate the kind words, because I do pride myself on being a great DJ. And yeah, I was lost. I think me and a lot of my contemporaries, like who came up in the SoundCloud era, where that was like be all end all. And like, if you get one dope remix on SoundCloud that does well, you could like tour off of that for years, and like then just like get swapped to the Spotify era and not know what to do. And that's when like Future Bass was really popping off, and like those kinds of things. Like there was a lot of ways to hack the internet then, that dope managers who are still like holding like top spots in the industry, like Marshmello, Moshe Leezy, like the guys at Keel who do like Louis the Child, and like they found really great uses of the technology, SoundCloud, Hype Machine back then, that just like solidified them as like the top of the game. And like I was just a fucking dumb kid, and I didn't know the internet that well. And like also like those guys have great music, and those guys have music that transcends like so many audiences. So like it's not just that they hack the system and that's it. Like I'm not that kind of person. I think good music is required for that to go well. But just saying, like there was a large period of time from before we had podcasts together till like maybe the past year or two, where I just was like, what the fuck do I like? How do I make this work?
Yeah.
And I think everyone still always has that, and as an attitude, just in a professional creative capacity. But I do feel like what I'm doing now in the past like 6-8 months is like, there's been such a change in that part of my career. And like, I feel it really clicking and catching on. So like, it feels like this is like a good moment where I'm starting to get it. And like, that's been dope.
Yeah, it's awesome to see, man. I mean, do you think, did you change like the amount of content you were putting out there, or did you just kind of refocus it more towards the music?
Yeah, refocused more towards the music, make the music more streaming friendly, and like just, I think my approach to music before was like, and like the approach to DJing used to be like, it was cool to be a DJ to play songs no one knew.
Yeah.
That's what made cool DJs back then. And what makes a cool DJ now is playing songs that everyone knows. That's just the reality of it, Like,
I don't know if I fully agree.
Sorry. Let me rephrase it. That's not always true. I think there's people who appreciate cool music that they've never heard before, or music that they know presented in a new way, which is what I like really try to do the most.
For
that's
sure.
Like
for sure. And I think the best DJs, and I think you are in that group, but I think the best DJs also know how to introduce music people haven't heard. And oftentimes that's by putting it next to music they have heard, and, kind of making it connect and all that.
Yeah.
But I will say, I didn't mean to like totally shit on your premise, because you're right that I think in the social media era, there is like, we are in a time where people want anthems, people want, sing-alongs or nostalgia or whatever it is. And part of that, is like the social media era. Part of that, I think, is probably just like a the ebbs and flows of culture. But
100%.
yeah,
100%.
I'm with you. I know what you mean.
Yeah, and there's like dude, EDM is like bigger than it's ever been. Like dance music in general, like it doesn't feel like it, but then you see like Coachella is struggling to sell out. They add an EDM stage, like I go to Coachella and all the DJ sets are bumping and the other ones like aren't so much, like I feel like, and like there's this, like, I think the house music movement has really made that a thing where like a lot of people who weren't listening to dance music are now listening to it as like mega fans, like the John Summits and Dom Dalla, like are just like selling out Madison Square Garden in
it's crazy.
Moment.
Did you go to Coachella this year?
I just went this last weekend. Yeah.
So was that your impression from like last weekend that the
definitely
dance tent was going crazy more so than some of the other stages?
I mean, Coachella is like a hard example because like there's so many people there for every kind of music, but kind of like, I think dance music is definitely huge. I mean, I think with the younger generations, maybe bands are starting to like be more cool or just like singer-songwriters. I don't know, but
I think people are getting stoked about concerts again in general. Like not even necessarily a genre, but I do feel like this is a totally kind of speculative thought, but I feel like people are more stoked to go to concerts now than they were a few years ago.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's a weird time, and just trying to like maximize the flow of people's ears and eyes, and like into my own stuff. And like, how can I get more people's attention on what I'm doing and make it like stuff that I love and stuff that I'm proud of.
Well, let's talk about how your music has changed too. Because certainly from the last time I talked to you, the music you're putting out sounds different as well. It's cool, man. Because when I first met you or heard about you, it was, I always in my mind associated you with like the Moombahton movement and like the global bass movement in general. But then, that movement birthed so many different producers and DJs that we all now know who have kind of all split off to various corners. Like, what was that evolution for you? Was it a conscious thing? Was it a natural thing over time?
Yeah, I would say it's more natural over time than anything. I think when I was in college, I was a music major and I wrote a research paper about how like the spaces that music was played in is the reason that music changed in the way that it changed over time.
Oh, that's
and like I think that is like the same about my own music, where I was playing in smaller rooms and like club settings, and like that music was club music, and I was playing in LA a lot, and like Latin music was like super dope, and like it was like what I was listening to on the radio, making remix of that stuff, and like I got to slowly play in bigger rooms and play festivals. And so my festival sets went from like heavy Moomba to like 10 Moomba songs, and then 4 Moomba songs, and then 2 Moomba songs. And like, so the remixes that I was making from like, even the times we were talking, I was making so many remixes that were like at 150, 160. Those are the best moments in my set. Those were like the hypest songs that I produced. But I was still like trying to like almost like trying to please other people in a way by like sticking to the global bass thing and like being true to my roots kind of thing. I didn't want to like seem like, I just wanted to like be I don't know. I can't quite like, it's not that I was like forcing myself to do it because I still love that music, but I just like had this like feeling that I had to do it,
Yeah.
And, like,
it's almost like you still want the cool kids approval kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I'm definitely dealing with people like in some shows I'm playing, they're like, put on their phone, like play Moomba. And like, dude, in my sets, I still play like a little bit of Moomba here and there, depending on the venue and the crowd. Like I still do that. I've always played every genre in all my sets. Like that's what I do. But yeah, it's definitely like more leaning towards like techno, rave, like hype music. Like I don't want to just like, there's no one genre, but like it's this new sound that excites me, and it's also a sound that I'm seeing like emerge as like potentially a new like mega thing in dance music. Like I'm seeing that kind of transition, like in my own like in my own audiences, like people that didn't really know me, maybe heard some of my music. I'm playing in like Calgary, Canada, and like I'm seeing people in the front row as like techno people, you know, like these younger kids with their shirts off and like techno sunglasses and doing like a techno dance. And I'm like, yo, like that's kind of crazy to see. Like there's this like people like want to become like they want it to be easy. Like I think that's why did so well is because like it's so easy to be like a dubstep fan. Like you just have to headbang.
Yeah.
You have to go there and be like, this is nasty. Like it's so easy to like fit into that. And not that like I fucking love dubstep. I think it's dope. I'll play dubstep in my sets. But like I think the easier entry, like some of this stuff is, it just like makes it so much easier for it to grow so big. Cause like you can just be a dubstep fan so easily. You just wear the thing, wear the uniform, do the dance, and like boom, you're in. And like I think that's the same with house music. I think that's the same with this like kind of American techno resurgence that's kind of like starting to happen. It's like you just gotta like fit in, and it's like easy to fit in. Sometimes,
yeah. Of course, man. And I think I mean there's a lot in what you just said. One thought I had, which is funny, is like do you have like Eastern European background?
Yeah, I'm Polish.
Yeah, Polish. Like, because I know your last name, and I was like, that looks like a Polish last name. I mean, if you want to talk about going back to your roots, I feel like,
dude. I mean, that's
exactly Eastern Europe.
Yeah, I'm Polish and UK, like London or like Britain, Polish. Those are the two kind of major things. So yeah, that is more me.
Just in a very like 23andMe sense. But
I mean that, and like I grew up playing, like my first exposure to dance music is like Tiesto, like on a CD from like LimeWire, and then DDR, like from the age like 12 to like 15, I was like insanely obsessed with DDR. And so like trance, hard style, like hard dance, like in that 2002 to 2005 is like where a lot of this music is getting its inspiration from right now. So that's like, I can still see DDR eras when I close my eyes, Dude, like
of course. DDR is, I love DDR because it's like the great equalizer as far as like what's cool and what's corny. Because I think, so much music that's in DDR, if you didn't play DDR, if you just heard the song, you'd be like, that's a corny song. But when it's contextualized through DDR, it becomes like the coolest shit ever.
100%.
To me, there's something beautiful in that, where it's like, there really is no corny and there really is no cool. It's kind of just all how it's received and how it's presented. Dude,
I got chills just now because I just ate some mushrooms recently.
Nice.
And I had this like a lot, like it was one of those like
wait,
times.
How recently? Like 10 minutes ago?
A couple months ago, I had like a really transformative experience. It's been a while since I'd done that. And one of the big takeaways was like, corny is literally just corny is inside of you. There's no like actual corny outside of you. I mean, this is my argument, right? Because there are arguments against this, but there's really no corny outside of you. It's all perception. It's all set and setting, and like, what's corny, what's not is just your own judgment. And maybe it's like a projection of like what you're afraid of being perceived as more than anything. Right.
Sure. Of course.
And that was pretty transformational for me in my music as well. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, 100%. I mean, I think it's one of those truths that I think everybody kind of knows if you really think about it hard enough. But it's one of those that can exist next to other truths where, I mean, I think a ton of stuff is corny. I'm like judging stuff and bitching about stuff all day, every day. But it's with the awareness that like I'm also bullshit, So it's like like it's all kind of a joke at the end of the day,
Yeah.
Like not 100%. Yeah. Not that I don't have, like, of course I have what I like to think are like very strong principles and ethics and, good and bad ways to do things. But to me, that's sort of separate than like judging whether I think like a song sucks or not,
Yeah, no, I think that is the argument against. My argument is like, well, there's people who go into something with like the wrong intentions. And when you can perceive their intentions as being wrong, like that's what makes something corny. And I think that's true also maybe, but I like this idea of like corniness just being your own like self-judgment, and like every decision you make being art is like the other takeaway that I had, like even just day-to-day life. And like what you do is like you're making a decision, you're like painting the story of your life, and like there's no judgment like for art. Like if it's a white canvas and someone puts it up in a museum, anyone can feel anything about that, especially anger or like judgment. And like that is kind of art because it's a decision someone made to like make you judge them or make you angry, or someone spending 100 years painting the most perfect replication of real life. Like they wanted to make you feel some way too, just as much as someone who fucking put one black line on a canvas. So everything is art and nothing is corny.
Yeah, dude, 100%. I mean, so much of like, I don't know, when we're kids, that's the thing too. I always go back to like when we were kids, you didn't even really know the concept of corniness when you're a kid, right? It's just you like something or you didn't like something, and it wasn't more complicated than that. And really, I think art, now we're getting like out in the clouds, but I think when we make art, or if any decision we make could be considered art, like that's all that is us trying to get back to that sort of instinctive, reactive place and to give other people that reaction. And that is basically like cutting out the concept of corniness entirely, right? Where it's just like, I like it or I don't like it, but it's not really a judgment beyond that.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Yeah,
no, I love that, and I love thinking about this kind of stuff because it helps inform your decisions when you are an artist, you know, or also when you're not, like also when you're just a person making decisions, but especially when you're an artist.
Yeah, dude, 100%, and not getting too in your own head about it, and not. I think especially too when you're relying on it for money and paying your rent or your mortgage or whatever it is, it's very easy to put a lot of weight on every decision and to feel like if you make the wrong decision, it's going to, you know, end your life, or, you know, going to be a catastrophe or whatever, when really the more you can take that weight off of yourself and just make the decision and move on, probably that's what's going to help you the most.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what has been informing my career choices lately, is just like music. Instead of holding music for like a year and putting all this pressure on how this music is going to be so perfect once I release it, I'm making songs and putting them out in a month or two, and just putting a song out every month for the past like 6 months or so. And just like doing that finally and feeling it pay off so richly has been like so awesome for me, because I've always done the opposite. And I was like, it's like when you do the same thing over and over and expect different results. It was like that. Like it was making me fucking crazy. It was making me mad. I'm like, why isn't this working? You know, it's just like finally doing the other thing and it's working. Yeah. It's like,
I love that you said that, man. Finally doing the other thing. I think there's so many people, myself included, who have been in that situation. And that's really, it comes down to just do the other thing for once.
Yeah, dude, I mean, really, it's just like, I always put like Spotify felt so like formal and just like, so when you put a song on Spotify, like, and I was on SoundCloud days, I was like putting out a song, multiple songs a week, dude. And that's when I was like experiencing the most like success of my life to that point in my career. And is like trying to kind of replicate that a bit now in my career, and putting out remixes a lot, and like, you know, doing the social media thing with my remixes, and that's been super helpful too, you know.
Well, building I mean, I'm curious about that too, because we're sort of talking about this, like this mind shift and how that happened. But then in sort of the more business side, like, have you kind of mapped out a plan? Like, is putting out a song a month like a rule of the project the way you see it now?
Right now, yeah, for sure. It's just like, you know, creating as much as I can and not like holding it back, just like putting it out as quickly as I can, getting reactions, seeing what people think about it, and, you know, like using that reaction to inform what I do next. And you know, same with just quickly putting out a remix on social media to try to like tap into what's hot and cool at the moment, like a cool popular song on TikTok, making a cool remix of it, hope for the best. And, just using that as my social media strategy versus like some big production at a music festival asking people questions, so it ties back into the music, and that's like what I'm trying to get people to be excited about. So it's working, so much better.
Absolutely. Yeah, dude. It's cool too. This is sort of a separate tangent, but it's cool that you're putting out music with Dimmock now too. I saw that, and I know like a few other people kind of from back in our early days are working with them now too. And it was kind of cool to see a bunch of people I like just coalesce around a legendary label like that. And I don't know, I won't say breathe new life into it because they were always doing it, but it does seem a little more focused now. It's cool.
Yeah, it's been good, man. I put out a song with OK, a collab with OK on Dimmock, and I liked how it went. And I was like, yeah, let's try some music with them. And we just wrapped my first EP with them, 4-track EP, Attitude. Just wrapped that on Friday, and now we got another 4-track EP coming out. One song a month. The next release is like May 14th or something, and just like do a song a month and then drop the EP. And so in 4 more months, I'll have 8 new tracks and, fucking 9 new tracks in the past 10 months. And just like, it's been awesome.
That's great, man. And I wanted to say too, because we spent a lot of time talking about like your success as like a viral video guy and a content creator. And all that, I mean, obviously you are very good at, but I think there's another part of what you do and who you are as an artist that, at least in my mind, contributes to maybe the like longer tail of your career and your success, which is that I think you've always been really good at community building as well, which is sort of that's like the behind the curtain stuff that people who know you for viral videos maybe don't see. But, what you've done with like group chat as a label and now a party and all that, I wanted to just kind of dig into that and how that's evolved and kind of just how you see it in general from like the global online part versus the like very local community based part, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. It makes a lot of sense because that's like something that we have been like trying to untangle a bit because those are super disconnected, and they were super disconnected, and we're slowly trying to like tie them back together. I started group chat. Originally, the idea was like 2017, and then I put out a couple records just on my own, like on group chat, maybe 2019. But we really started releasing other artists in 2020, like in the pandemic is when we started group chat fully. Me and Ivor, who's from Orlando and someone who I've known forever, is in the Shake and Bass kind of crew from way back in the day. And so I had him come on and be the label manager. And we did a lot of cool global bass releases. We did a lot of like streaming stuff during the pandemic. And then fast forward to 2022, June 2022, we started a party with Insomniac in LA. So then that like blew up in like 4 months. We were like from the like Loft Academy, which is like 300 people, to the main floor, which is like 1,000 people. And, it was a lot of like the Gesture LA community coming around and like seeing what I do with group chat and like trying to build that into the group chat community, not the Gesture community. And a big part of that is finding local / like more, US based DJs, but also like bringing DJs from other countries and presenting cool, dope music, but just definitely trying to like build it more into a local scene than like this huge, like global scene, which group chat is. It's like people from Taiwan, people from Brazil, people from Hungary, like so many different artists released on group chat over the years. So trying to like turn it into a more like, I think it's like about like contracting it to the local level from what it's been, and then like re-expanding it just so that like there can be this moment of like creating like an actual IRL community and then re-expanding it into bigger. And that's kind of like what we're on now, is like trying to move this party to different cities right now in the US, and then like eventually the world.
Dude, well, I love that, man. And it's while you were talking, I was realizing something interesting because you've always had a lot of success in Southern California, which I think makes sense at the start, right? Like you know, any artist gets known kind of where they're from first, and then they expand and move on from that. But I feel like you held on to that strength in Southern California pretty much the whole time. And it's interesting just because I feel like a lot of artists, when they get to the level that you're at, you don't really maintain that anymore. Like, don't maintain like a strong regional presence as much as they end up like sort of spreading it across, you know, everywhere, wherever they're trying to tour. And I don't know, do you think that's just because you do tend to focus on IRL communities? Is it something about the music, or is it something about Southern California?
I will say, I think it's like, as much as it's a good thing because it has like helped me maintain a successful career, and it's helped me to like have a really slow build in my career, which is also really healthy, even though I like hate it all the time. Like I'm becoming more thankful for it as I get older, and I'm like, man, it's a good thing I didn't get famous like 5 years ago, because I would have spun out of control. Like I wouldn't have been able to handle it. I can barely handle it now, and I'm just starting to like not drink when I DJ. You know, like wow, for Rain Blast, bro. So you know, like anyways, it was like a weakness of mine, because it's like my music wasn't translating to other markets really, you know, and like people like promoters in other markets, you know, the East Coast, for example, like, oh, we don't have Moombahton DJs out here. You know, like that was always the answer. It's like, well, I'm not a fucking Moombahton DJ, you know, like I'm a DJ, like I'm a dance music DJ, whatever. So it was a lot of like growing pains, really. Like this is like a painful part of my career, but also, like I said, I'm like thankful for it. And it's like really made this crazy solid foundation. And now finally I have been building off of that foundation, whereas I was like putting in the foundational work for like, you know, 5-6 years and like pulling my hair out at times. But I think it's finally really paid off doing that for so long.
Dude, yeah, it's so cool to see. And from the videos I've seen of the group chat parties too, like, you know, obviously it's different if you're actually there, but I think the videos, at least to me, it's a rare vibe. Like they don't seem like videos of a lot of other parties that happen. I mean, especially in a club like Academy or, you know, the like big LA spots where I feel like every party kind of looks the same in those.
Yeah.
Like,
what it is?
Yeah. What is it?
What it is that it's like I said, it's like the gesture community turning into like a party label centric community. But the gesture community is people who've been listening to my sets for 5 or 6 years who expect every genre and slash have no expectations. Let's just say they have no expectations and they just love the music and they just love the community and the culture and the vibe that is going to be created, you know, regardless of what genre there is. And so like another thing that I'm thankful for is that because of the music I've played for so long and have changed lanes and styles and gone with different flows, is like created this fan base of just people who are so open and down for anything. And like now that I can bring any DJ to this party and they'll love it and like be so hyped on it, and like that I'm super thankful for.
Well, and there's a lesson in that too, I think, of it's a classic lesson, but it's always true, is, you know, we were talking earlier about early on, you're concerned about like getting the cool kids approval or getting like larger entities approval. But the universal truth is if you just build your own thing, all the rest of that will come to you anyway, you know? And it's just cool to see you doing it, man. It's like, you've been putting in the work for so long, man. I think it's a rare story for someone to have been plugging at it like you are for long enough that it's just been this really gradual thing that I'm glad to hear you say feels like it's starting to pay off. But it's just cool to see, man, because I think that's like actual success as opposed to like momentary success, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and like saying it actually is paying off. I would have said that like every week, month, year in the past as well, right? It's like
right.
that's just what you say, but it's true. Like it feels different now, you know. Like success is just that I can live here with my wife and my dog in LA, in the coolest city in the world, in my opinion, and it's like super fucking expensive, and we're making it happen, and like. Also, my wife is like doing her own thing and is super successful in her own way now, and like. We're building this amazing life together. And that is like true success, not to be corny and veer off this lane, but like that feels like
what you maybe told me this, but what does she do?
It's actually more recent. And since we've talked, she's started doing this, but she's in creative marketing and events. And she just left for Stagecoach for the week to set up like a cool pop-up at Stagecoach. She does it with different brands and stuff. And she's just like gone from being like a bartender that was working one of these events. And they were like, you're dope. Do you want to come work with us? To like now is like a producer on these events and is like doing big stuff in just like a couple of years. So like, it's been super cool to see that happen. And it's been like, it's also like rubbed off on me, like challenging me. Cause like she's there working like way more than me, like hours of like, dude, just putting in work. I'm like inspired by her work lately and just like, dude, like I used to work this much and like maybe gotten a little complacent at times. And like, so that's been really cool. Just like to be inspired by her in this time,
dude, that's the best, man. I love that. I mean, okay, so this is to kind of start bringing it home. This is something I was wondering. We talked a lot about you as the viral video guy, you as the Moombahton guy, like all these different phases. But I feel like what ties them together, and you just reminded me of it, talking about like getting re-inspired, watching your wife's motivation, is like a fire or a motivation of your own to create in general. Like I wanted to ask you, because I don't know if we ever talked about this, like what is like young Jim on the internet look like? Like were you like a chat room kid? Like what was your early experience? I feel like there's got to be something in there that like turns on a switch to then start wanting to like get involved and start participating in all these different things.
Yeah, I mean, I think just from a young age, I always wanted to be like doing the thing that seemed like impossible to do. Like if it was like deconstructing a broken toaster to see how it worked, or like making silly videos with my friends on a videotape recorder. Like I wanted to like, and music too, especially like I was exposed to dance music through like jock jams and like shit like that. And I was like, dude, how do they make like music like this? Like so interested. MTV Music Generator on PlayStation with my dad's like artist for his job, that his business that he had, and like playing that as a kid, and just like, and then DDR, getting into DDR, and there's a Dance Dance Revolution forum on the internet that I was really into. I was like a 12-year-old kid, and all these other people were like much older than me, even just like maybe older teenagers and like young adults.
What would you talk about on the DDR forum? Is it just like, I got this score?
I don't even know. It would, I mean, general stuff like your favorite song or like da-da-da. And then like there was a DDR machine locator on there as well. So anywhere I would go in the country, I would like tell my mom we have to go to this arcade to like try this machine and like that kind of stuff. And like, and then I was on this music forum called Oink, which was like high quality private music torrent downloading.
I was
and,
on
like,
Oink. Oh yeah.
Yeah, nice. Hell yeah. And that was really inspiring because I would always just download like, the top music, and there was a lot of cool electronic music on there. So yeah, I think I was always that. And then like also I was really shy. I am still shy and introverted to this day. Like people don't believe that about me, but I am. So like I didn't have a huge outside life, but a huge like internet nerd life, you know, and like music and all that stuff kind of like just came together.
Yeah, man. Well, I relate to the shyness thing. I mean, that's me too. And I think, I don't know, maybe people know this about performers in this day and age, but I feel like that's a pretty common thing at least for me, it's like, just comes down to a control thing. I can be out there and crazy and wild and in your face when like I'm the one controlling the interaction. Yeah. But that's otherwise, I don't.
That's a really good point.
I don't have much.
Because I was going to say, people always assume that I'm extroverted because of the social media videos I do and running up to people. And like another reason I stopped doing those is because it took so much out of me. Like
Dude.
psychically to like do that. Like I had to hype myself up to do those videos, man, or like drink, and like that, like I've been sober. I'm not like on sobriety because like I can't control my drinking, but like I've been sober for 76 days now. And like, because of this tour that I just did, and like, whoa, like it's a lot better to do this stuff sober. And like, that's been a big lesson for me.
Oh,
like,
that's cool to hear, man. I like sober, like nothing.
No, just no drinking.
Okay.
I mean, I don't like no drugs either. I smoke weed because like that is something.
California
I don't smoke
sober,
a lot of. I don't smoke a lot of weed these days because also that like makes me lazy for the most part. Just like sometimes when I'm having fun at a party or like before bed, but. It's been great to not drink. Mostly just not drink has been like a game changer because I was always a guy with the drink in my hand DJing. Like that's just part of the culture. And it's been crazy, man. It's been cool.
Dude, it's huge. Yeah. A few years back, I stopped. I'm not sober from alcohol, but I don't drink at shows anymore. And yeah, it's a huge, huge change. And it's great. Like I don't think for the first, like, I don't know, 6 months, I looked at it as an experiment, but pretty quickly I was like, oh, I'm never gonna drink at shows again. Like that's kind
of where I'm at too.
Yeah.
There was a couple, like I did 4B and Friends in Miami, which is like definitely a big, like all your friends are there and everyone's having fun and drinking.
Well,
and
4B is there, yeah.
Right. And it was just like, oh, like I would love a drink right now, but I'm not gonna do it because I told myself no. But like for the most part, like you said, it's just like this was an experiment, and like pretty instantly I was like, dude, this is game changing, especially because I've been working out a lot. And like, if I had been drinking on this tour, I would have stopped working out like 2 months ago.
Right.
I would have been doing it, start touring. This is my pattern, dude. And we were talking about being fat kids growing up. It was like, I would be in really good shape, like going to the gym, exercising, eating well, start touring, drinking, which just like ruins, like it makes you tired, it makes you depleted. And that's when you start making bad decisions and making the lazy choices. And like, that was my pattern for the last like 10 years now as a DJ is like, drink, need 6 months to get back to feeling better, and now it's just like, oh shit, if I just don't drink, it's a lot easier to feel.
And I hear you when you say like you're hanging out with a big group and you're like, oh, it'd be super fun to have a drink. But at least for me, I don't know if this would be true for you or for other people, but what I figured out for me was like, as long as I had like something in my hand, like even if it was just like seltzer water or I sound like such a fucking nerd saying this, but there's actually pretty good like non-alcoholic like beer and shit now.
Yeah, no, definitely there is. Yeah.
Like it's the same thing. I felt exactly the same as if it was actual alcohol.
Yeah. And something I've realized is like, you literally never regret not drinking. Like in the moment you regret it, you're like, oh, I wish I was drinking with my friends. This is so, like you wake up in the morning, like if I had drank last night wouldn't have been any better.
Right.
Like you only regret drinking. And like, I'm not like I said, I'm not like sober. This isn't like AA. This isn't like, I like despise drinking, like do what you want. But like the feeling of like, you literally never regret not drinking. Like, exploded in my brain. Is like,
you're right.
This is crazy.
You're absolutely right.
I didn't realize.
Oh, and and to be clear here, I'm like, I do still drink. I just don't do it at shows. So I'm not preaching, full sobriety either. But
unless you have a problem, because I will, that is a thing too. Like,
I mean, if you can do full sobriety, that's probably good. I encourage anyone who wants to do it to do it. I can't do it myself, at least not at this point in my life. But it's one of those things where, it's the same as anything else. It's the same with overeating. It's the same as not working out and being lazy. And, all that shit feels great. It's fun to do at the time. And I still do all of it, but it's just, you gotta have a balance. And I think more importantly to like focus on what we're here to talk about is when you're trying to do a creative project, when you're trying to accomplish a goal, that's when you really got to get cutthroat about what the choices are doing for you.
100%. And that's where I'm at in life right now is like, I'm not getting younger. And like, I have this good moment in my career where like, I've repeated this cycle a lot of times where a good moment comes and like, I've never flushed a good moment down the drain, but like, I've definitely like, haven't been my best version of myself and let it like kind of fizzle out. And like, now is the time where I'm like not letting that happen and like taking care of my mind, body, and my career, like really focusing in on it and just making good decisions all around. And it's cool to see it pay off so well.
Dude, I love that. I mean, musically, other than sort of, streamlining the process, putting music out instead of sitting on it, that kind of thing. And other than, like sort of changing the sound a bit, like, are you making music differently? Like, has anything changed in terms of your process?
A big part of it is writing my own vocals and just not letting that be like a broken part of the process where I'm like, oh, now I need to add vocals to this thing. Like a lot of the times just writing the vocals first and then making a song around that, like really focusing on catchy vocals. Like my song Techno Girl, my song Baseline, those are two of the like first ones I put out. And like, dude, for the first time, people singing along in the crowd, like that's happened a couple times in my career, but like a lot of my lyrics are in Spanish or like whatever, like it doesn't fully catch on like it has now. And like, that is awesome because I've wrote the lyrics myself. I'm actually also using AI now to like change my voice into like a fully female voice or like, fully different sounding voice.
Are you working with the what's the one that Kurt's involved with?
Replay. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Replay. Yeah.
Yep. That's the one that I use. It's amazing. You can combine vocal models. So you can do like, I don't know the max number you can combine, but I've combined like 3 different vocal models of like unknown people, known people, and you can just kind of like fine tune this like timbre you're looking for. And it's been a game changer. I have full control of my music now. And I'm still working with vocalists here and there, but it's a lot cooler to just be like, I thought of this cool vocal, write it in my notes app, record it into my recording app, get home, pull up this mic and just like sing it. And it sounds silly because it's me, and then throwing a cool AI like model on it, and then like boom, we're going. Like I could finish a song in a couple hours that way,
Yeah,
and so
that's huge too. I mean, removing roadblocks for yourself too, I think is huge. Because even just hearing you talk about, I've been in that situation where I'm like, okay, I've got a cool song. Now I need to find a vocalist.
For years, you're like looking for a vocalist, right?
For shy guys, that can oftentimes be like, oh, I got to like send a DM and then someone else has to like judge my song. And there's all these steps before you can just get to the finishing the song part. And you're right, man. That's why a lot of songs don't get finished.
Yeah. I think another big thing that I didn't mention yet is like, because in 2021, I started this kind of like rave inspired sound. I have the song Gimme That, the song Get Up and Get Live. They're both like rave stabs, ravey inspired songs, but then I like forced myself to like put like a global bass spin on it. I was like, I have to do something different and that sounds different. And like I kept like limiting my music by like having to do something that like no one's done before. I like kept like I needed to reinvent music every time I put out a song. And it just not like there's so much pressure on yourself to do that because that's almost impossible. It actually is impossible to reinvent music every time you put out a song. And secondly, it's just like, it literally like, if I hadn't added that element, the song probably would have been better, you know? So that realization too, just lately is just like huge, like writing a vocal, putting a kick over the vocal. Maybe that's just it. Maybe that's the whole song.
Dude, I mean, that's like one of the oldest lessons about art in general is like, don't do more, do less. That's always. And it's not just music, it's everything, you know?
Yeah, 100%. That's been game changing for me. I'm like, don't try to be crazy and different with it. Just do something that's like truly you. Like the vocals are for me. I wrote the melodies. I wrote everything. Like this is my song. Like it's maybe sounds like another song, but it's my song. And like, I'm very proud of it, you know, like Dude. That's been a big,
that's what, that's what it is too. A long time. I always think about this. A long time ago, Sammy LS Dream said to me that the way he's trying to reframe his brain, at least at the time, I don't know if he still thinks this, but he was like, I'm no longer trying to like make a perfect song. I'm just trying to make something I'm proud of. He's like, as long if I'm proud of it, then nothing else matters really. Yeah, and I think about that all the time still.
And that's so big. And it's something that I agree with because like there's music that I would make and like I like forced this like extra part on it. And then I wouldn't be as proud of it because it's not as like digestible or whatever. I'd be afraid to show people the song. I'd be afraid to talk about the songs. And that's a huge part of the industry now, is like being proud of your work, putting it out there as much as you can, putting it in everyone's faces, banging them over the head with it. And like, that's been a lot easier now that I'm more proud of my music, you know?
Yeah, man. Well, and it seems like, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you've sort of found that sweet spot between all of these phases we've talked about now, these older phases where you're kind of doing a little bit of each in like just a really good recipe of like, because you're still doing some viral video stuff, but it's, you know, aimed at the music and seems playful. Like I saw that one you did that was like the fake video of like a DJ playing his set off Spotify.
Yeah, actually, I haven't done one of those in a while. I need to do more of those because those are very fun and funny.
Well, but yeah, that one was hilarious to me because that's a straight up like troll post.
Yeah,
but
so many people reposted it thinking it was real, and like that was just a method of like my song was playing during that, so now like a million more people have heard my song. You know?
Right. Well, yeah, I should say for anyone who didn't see the video, it's just a short video of somebody DJing, and then you kind of make it look like they're playing their set off Spotify off their phone instead of actually DJing. But then it's your song playing.
Right.
Do you think, well, actually, because we started off talking about how the dollar videos, did it help? Did it not? Do you think those, like this new kind of video, does that help? Do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I think it helps in some ways, and maybe they're not as detectable. I mean, there's people who are doing this style video that it's helping immensely, and it's like insane. I don't know if I've ever had one that was big enough for it to help in that crazy big way, but I mean, eventually one of them catches, and then that's that, you know.
Yeah, it could certainly.
Yeah, for sure. I haven't done those videos in a long time, and I need to get back on being creative in that way because like it definitely is cool and it does help. It you know, I think just doing it helps because then eventually it really helps. You know what I mean? And just getting your mind, like doing a bunch of shitty videos because finally one will be good. You know, and like. I think that's like a thing in art, you know, like making a bunch of shitty songs, getting the shitty songs out of the way so that you can finally make good songs. You know, it's the same with social media and everything.
Yeah. And, you know, I don't want to ever say like it's quantity, not quality, because they all have to be to a certain level of quality. But it's sort of what we were just talking about, where you can't place 100% of your hopes and values on a single piece of work, whether it's a video or a song or any of it. It's way more about making sure the machine keeps going.
And like this is a funny person to call on in this conversation, but maybe not really. But Mr. Beast says this, and it's like he's like, start making YouTube videos now. Like, don't wait till you have the perfect setup. Every YouTube video you put out, make one thing better. And it doesn't have to be like your background. It can be like you watched a video on like a hook and like hooks, and you tried a new hook in this video, or you like watched a video on like thumbnails and you put a new thumbnail. Like that's the same with music, with content, with everything. You listen to a tutorial about how to make hi-hats sound better, and you just made that hi-hat better in your song. Like that's the advice you need to take these days, because unless you are like this like God level producer and there's like 2 every 10 years, I don't know, like right? Like, unless you're that, which you probably aren't. Maybe you are, but no offense, I'm not. Like, there's a lot of people who aren't. You just got to keep getting 1% better every time you do something. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But well, and it's cool too, because I think over time, like your production level has gotten better too, and it was never bad to start with, right? But it's cool still at this point in your career that like, yeah, it's still evolving and still changing and getting better. And I don't know, that's another thing too, because I think a lot of people have this thing in their mind where they're like, I just need to get to X level and then I'll be good forever, and it's just not the case. You always got to be. No, it's not.
I've had that. I mean, I've had that happen so many times in my career, even like early on when I remember just like when I worked on the Major Lazer song, which was like such a cool, huge moment for me. Like that was my idol. And I was like, dude, once this song comes out, like dude, like
You
it's
know
so
what's
funny
funny is
because that was so long ago, you know.
I worked on a Major Lazer song too, and I had the same thought. I was like, here we go.
Yeah, like this is it. Yeah, and that's just so funny how long ago that was, how insignificant it is now.
And
it's just
you know
like,
what's funny? I do you feel this way? When I think back to the Major Lazer song I worked on, I was like, oh, I was terrible at producing. Like that's
yeah,
I
sure.
wasn't good at all, and
Yeah.
and they used like all the shit I made, and it's in their music now. So I'm like, oh, maybe I am not thinking about this at all, right? Like, because if Wes saw something I was doing back then and thought it was cool, that I look back and I was like, oh, I was a terrible producer back then. I was like, oh no, wait, maybe I was doing something cool back then that I've actually lost now, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because I know too much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, what else, man? I mean, the EP's awesome. You got more on the way. Is there anything else we should say about like stuff that's coming up, stuff you're excited about?
Yeah, just yeah, really excited about the new music. A ton of new music, just gonna keep coming out. Ton of new stuff. Group chat. We're like working. I'm working with some new agents. We're like really excited about bringing group chat to different cities. So like that's a big thing that is on the agenda this year. The group chat, like YouTube, is something that I'm really trying to work on, and like the live sets from there. We just had TJR. You should go listen to this. It was amazing. We just had TJR play group chat. And he played a throwback Y2K set of like records that you probably would be familiar with. And like, great. It was so good. And I'm so proud that we've created this like environment and this platform to be able to do that. So like more of that cool kind of stuff. Like
that sounds
I want
great.
Like if that was on a Boiler Room, it would be like talk of the town. And like, I want that, you know, so like we're just going to keep plugging away. I know that's what it takes, and like really proud of that we've created. So we're just going to keep working on the group chat stuff, building that up, as well as my own music. And, you know, fall, we're looking for like pretty significant tour and like doing cool stuff then. And yeah, man, it's exciting. Everything's really exciting right now.
That's so fun, man. Yeah, it makes me happy to hear you talk about it. I'm going to go watch that TJR set right
dude,
now.
do it. It's so good. It's so good.
Well, because it's so smart hearing you talk about it. I was like, watching those videos that I was referencing earlier from group chat parties, I was like, it is sort of like an early Boiler Room vibe, but it ties in really well to what we were talking about like there is no corny and there is no cool. Because I think, not shitting on Boiler Room, but like they would never book TJR to do like a TJR throwback set, because I assume in Boiler Room land that's corny. But it's so smart.
Feels like that. Right.
Yeah, but it's so smart to like you to do that, because there's so many people that love that sound and who were partying in that era. And I mean, he's incredible, and his sound I think is influential now, maybe more than it was even 5 years ago. So it's super smart, but it's just like that's an underserved niche, you know?
Yeah, agreed. That's exactly what my thought was as well. Is like there's not a whole lot of like people doing that kind of stuff on YouTube, like just cool modern sets. And like I think part of group chat is like when you see a DJ play there, I mean, not always, because sometimes it's just like a DJ is really good at like one thing or whatever, like that's why they're there. But like we definitely want DJs to play a little different than they normally do, or like take a little more risks, and like that's what group chat's all about.
Well, dude, it's fucking great to catch up with you, man. This was so fun.
Yeah, I agree, man. This is a good one. I'm really stoked we got to chat again.
Me too, man. And yeah, I hope I get to see you in the flesh sometime soon. I can't believe it's been that long.
No, where do you live again?
I'm out in DC these days, so I'm on the other coast. But
man, I was just there too. I forgot where you were.
Well, I've always bounced around. I think the last time we talked, I was in San Diego. So yeah, I've been bouncing around.
Oh, cool. Well, next time I'm in DC, I'm hitting you up. And
please, man, please. And yeah, I'll hit you up the next time I'm in LA too. I was just out there like a month ago. So
well, yeah, hit me up, man. Maybe we'll have a group chat and you can come through, dude. That'd be awesome.
Great. I'd love to, man. Yeah. I do. Well, thanks so much for doing this, man. It's great to catch up.
Yeah, for sure, man.
All right, man. Peace out.